This is the KoperCrabb Podcast.
I'm Cheney Crab.
I am Naveen Copperwise.
If you guys want to grab KoperCrabb merch, then go to KoperCrabb.bigcartel.com. If you would like to grab leftover ENTHEOS tour merch, you can go to ENTHEOSofficial.bigcartel.com and I will personally send it out to you. If you would like any other ENTHEOS merch, check out our night shift store. If you would like to call in to the podcast with a voicemail, then call 615-420-7342. If you're watching live on Twitch right now, you can call that number and leave a voicemail. Join our Discord and you can call in live and be an actual guest on the podcast, essentially.
Yeah.
So
someone did have the guts to do it last night. So we'll see if it happens again
tonight. We'll see if we dare you guys. So on October 23rd, we will be doing the Beatdown Brunch. Naveen and I will be talking, speaking. I imagine that it's going to be something like the podcast. And that's in Knoxville at the concourse at 11:30 in the morning. It's free. And then we're doing the Whitechapel's annual Christmas benefit show. And that is December 22nd in Knoxville, Tennessee. So go check that out.
Confirmed.
Confirmed. Today on the podcast, our guest is Duncan Bentley of Vulvodynia.
Yo, what's up, guys?
What's going on, man?
Yeah, cheers, man. It's great to see you.
I know.
All the way from South Africa, man.
Feels like just yesterday the Art Spy tour ended.
I know,
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was a really good time.
It was so good. It was like one of the best tours we've ever done, man. It was great.
Us too, yeah. It was an incredible tour. I mean, dude, it was like... I knew it was going to be a good tour, but I didn't expect it to be that raging of a tour.
Yeah, it was so insane. And I mean, everybody got along so well, like just all the pals, and it was great, man.
Totally.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, it was so fun. I think we thought it would be pretty good, but the amount of like crowds that were there,
it was insane.
It was seriously insane.
After COVID and everything, it was like a lot of people's first shows back, so they just ate it up, and like it was insane.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, are you like I remember a ton of people coming up to us and saying that was their first show back after COVID. Is that happening again on the tour that you're on right now?
Actually, I haven't heard that as much on this tour. But like, I think it still is. Like, there's a lot of people only coming out of lockdown now, and like, I think there's a lot of new fans of like even just metal in general that got into that stuff during lockdown, and now they're attending their first shows, and like they're just loving it. So it's rad.
Actually, somebody said that their first metal show was the one in Spartanburg.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That I've heard a lot. Like people saying it's their first metal show, especially on this tour too. So
yeah, it's weird. I guess like in those 2 years, people got into metal somehow, which it kind of makes sense. It does feel like metal is like big.
Yeah, and like, I mean, there's always new kids getting into it as well, and I'm sure a lot of them never got that opportunity to go out.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
now, they're old enough to go out, and they were fucking loving this shit, dude.
It's sick. I think it seems like metal is kind of getting really big right now.
Yeah, it's
with
cool.
the internet and stuff.
Yeah,
all like the whatever the
even
vocal
like
videos.
Yeah, even like deathcore and all of these underground genres are just like blowing up and starting to do really well with like, you know, all these new emerging artists and the new wave of stuff. So it's so rad. It's super
I know.
cool.
I love it, and I think like just seeing it. Just seeing that tour that we did was really inspiring.
It was insane. It really was, dude.
I was like, we've arrived. We're there.
We've made it.
So that was the second tour that you guys have done in the States, right?
Yeah.
And what was the first?
So the first one we done was in 2019, and there was like a little headliner run that we done with our album Mob Justice. It was a lot smaller, like tiny venues, but like for a headliner, it was actually like a blessing. It was really rad. And awesome. Being back at this venue tonight here in Nashville is really rad because we played it on that first run. Okay. So it's just been super cool. And on this tour, we have like our own bandwagon, like one of those buses.
Fuck yeah.
So trying that for the first time this side is actually really rad.
I know.
And it didn't cost us that much more than it did on the last one because we got hotels every night on the last one with the Sprinter we had.
Right.
So we're looking at the costs, and it was like a no-brainer. We were like, let's give it a try.
Okay.
But now after doing this, we're like, how can we ever go back?
I
know.
Sprinter?
Well, and Chris doesn't have to drive anymore, right?
Exactly,
Which
I
is
know.
what was. I felt so fucking bad for him every night because none of the rest of you have licenses.
Exactly. No, and like, yeah, that's crazy. I think Tom has it as well, but like, yeah, Tom and I party hard, so like Chris always gets the, the driving seat.
Well, and Chris is a dad too, so he's like taking
he's
the
like the
reins.
dad of the band as
Yeah,
well. Like,
I know.
yeah.
So
I love
what's
it so
he
much.
doing now with himself? He doesn't have to
So
drive.
it's crazy, dude. He
He's,
actually
like,
threw his
pacing
back
around.
out, climbing into his bunk because he got one of the top bunks.
Oh,
He
Yeah,
threw his
so he's
back
having
out
a-
earlier on the tour.
shit.
So yeah, tour dad vibes, bro. But he's still doing super
That's
well,
something
man. Like,
only a father could do
Yeah,
on
exactly.
tour.
no, I love it. I
Holy
love
shit.
it. Like, yeah, Chris actually helped us so much once he joined the band because we were terrible with finances before he joined. Like we, young, doing our first tours through Europe, like the one we did with Despised Icon, we were just like, I don't know, paying each other way too much and like just thinking we were balling, not looking at the
Yeah, yeah.
expenses. And
Oh,
then we
yeah.
got expenses later on. We were like, oh my God. So yeah, having Chris in the band is just like, yeah, he helps
Huge.
a lot and he deals with all the finances and everything on the bus.
So
so.
you
You have to have someone
Then we're
to
like,
do
Dad,
that.
can we please have some money?
Right, yeah, I
We need
mean-
buyout.
A lot of people may not think about that when you're young and starting a band. Like being financially intelligent is
Yeah.
a big part of keeping
You
your
need
band
to
on
be
the
able
road.
to do that. Yeah, it was crazy because in the beginning, I thought we just got these offers and we didn't look at the expenses. I remember on the Despised Icon tour, it was through Europe in
On a
2018.
bus?
Yeah, on a bus.
Yeah, it's
And that was our second European tour. The first one was also a headliner in a sprinter. And then that one was obviously bigger dates, bigger shows and everything. And we're big fans of Despised, so it was so rad.
I
but
love
like when we
Despised
first got I think the first, it was like the invoice for the first payment on the bus. We were all like, oh my God, what have we done?
Those European bus invoices will fucking kill you.
Yeah, and they're insane because I thought we only had to pay for the bus at the end of the tour, and then we got the first invoice I think like a weekend because that's how they do
every
it.
week, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, we don't have this money right now. What are we gonna do?
I know, and there's also like they'll throw in some fees that aren't even actually
Yeah,
on
no,
the offer.
definitely. But we were so blessed because like I explained the situation to the Despised boys. I was like, we didn't realize we were gonna get this invoice this soon in the tour, and it was like one of our first tours. We were a super young band, and they were just like, okay, we'll help you guys sort this first one, and then we just paid them, and it was super rad. They were so accommodating and like down to earth on that tour. It was super cool.
That's
I remember
very
that,
awesome of them.
That happened to us like the first time that we went to Europe, and we got the first, or it might have been the second invoice or whatever.
Yeah.
But we were in the UK and we had all these different currencies.
Yeah.
So
that's
I was
always the
like, we
mission.
could pay, we have enough to like just barely pay it, but I don't have the right currency. So I had to like, I went to this shop, like money shop, and the guy and me were like making this deal and stuff. It was like a huge thing, and it was so stressful.
And the currency exchanges, they are always like,
Oh
some
my
of them
God.
are scam artists. You
know.
literally have to go to a bunch of them and wait till you get the best offer. And then you're like, I always show them the Google currency thing, and I'll be like, I want the closest to this. Like, just give me. Yeah, I know. It's always insane. But it was cool. On that tour, we had the dudes in Malevolence with us, and they're a UK band. So they were actually buying all the pounds from the other dudes on tour. So it was like we had our own little currency exchange with us on tour.
That's cool.
there.
How was it touring with those guys?
They're so fucking rad,
They're
man.
cool?
They're super smart. Like, actually, they were the one band that wasn't on the bus with us, and they have a really sick sprinter. I know, like, Con, the guitarist, he's like super handyman vibes, like MacGyver. Like, he always pimps out their vans and has the sickest stuff. He actually, I think he built like a machine gun guitar as well.
A real machine gun?
No, it doesn't actually shoot, but it's like a machine gun that plays, and it's got a scope and like a laser and everything. And he tried to
shit. Okay,
fly
that
or
sounds
like
pretty
go
cool.
and play a show in Europe, and like I think at the airport or something, or like at the border, they were like, "What the hell is this thing?"
That's
We
pretty
had to just show
ballsy.
them, like, it's just no, but those guys are super cool, and they actually taught us a lot as well when we were on that tour with them.
Okay.
Awesome. We will meet them soon.
They're super cool. They're super cool.
Hell
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Down to earth and good
That's
music. Love
wonderful.
them.
Awesome. Yeah, but I can't believe that he tried to sneak a fucking
I
machine
know.
gun.
I would've not-
Machine
Well, I
gun
think that they were
anything
just like,
through
let's
security.
just fly with it. It wasn't even like sneaking vibes. Let's just fly and see what happens. Because I mean, it's just a guitar, but yeah,
It's just a
it's
guitar.
super badass.
That's
like,
also kind of fun
Yeah.
to like have people look over it and think that it's not a guitar.
I would just- I would be-
Or it goes through the X-ray and they're just like, what?
Holy
is that?
shit.
Yeah.
I'd be pretty concerned that they would just say like, you're not bringing this on. No
Yeah,
matter
no.
what,
I would be. Yeah, they're just confiscated.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, damn.
And then I'm afraid to like bring my multi-tool through.
I'm
freaking
afraid
thing.
to-
Oh,
yeah.
I've had so many multi-tools get taken away from me because I put it in my backpack by mistake. If you travel with it in your underneath luggage, then it's fine. You can go through with it. But yeah, it'll beep and they'll stop me. I'll be like, what did I forget in there now? Like, I hope it's not something.
What is it? Is it my knife, my gun, or my multi-tool?
I'm hoping it's not something I got given on tour, something that I forgot about.
All right.
But then then it's just my multi-tool. I'm like, oh, god damn, I had one that my dad gave me and it's just like, gone in the trash. He wants him thrown away. Just like,
those are always
Damn.
see, I go on every tour and I think I'm going to lose something for sure. But when it's something that's kind of meaningful sentimental.
That's
like
why I try and just leave all of that stuff at
I
home
know.
now. I was just like, because I'm the worst with that. I always lose something on tour. On this tour especially, I was telling myself I'm not going to lose anything. And then we forgot the side banners at one of the venues. And that's Bob. That's Bob.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I got Bob at the show.
The ones
Bob
that you
is
got
left
on the
behind.
tour, the last tour with us.
Yeah, it was those,
Okay.
but they were already cursed. Like, I remember we bought them for like $200, and on the first show we lost the clip, so I had to like duct tape the banners up every show.
Use my tape.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then I lost it or left it at the venue. That was like,
I actually, you
oh no,
didn't.
you found it.
No,
Yeah, you brought me the
I
next
didn't. I played a trick on you.
time. Oh, that was fun.
Yeah. You kept asking me for the tape, and you used it, and then I grabbed it. And then I was like, hey, you got that tape, Duncan?
Because it was my responsibility. I was supposed to bring it back to you after I asked you for it. And then I was like, the next day, I was like, oh my God, what did I do with it?
I know. I was like, man, I lost the tape,
I love
man.
tour pranks, dude. It's
Yeah.
the best. You gotta, it keeps you on your toes, bro. Like, keeps you idiot checking, making sure you don't forget shit.
There weren't really any tour pranks on the Archspire tour that we did.
Yeah, not as much as
Not a
they
pranky
usually
crowd.
are, but I remember when the Archspire boys used to drink, like on those first European tours, it would be crazy, dude.
Oh, they used to drink more?
Yeah, definitely. I remember
okay.
staying up with Toby and Ollie like late into the night. Like
Okay.
Toby would probably be up every day, like until like 6 a.m, just hanging out in the bus. And I feel him because I get FOMO. I never want to go to sleep on
Dude,
tour.
I have
I'm just
such
like-
bad FOMO. I will be the last person awake on the bus in Europe. It was me and Julian from Gorod. We would
Yeah.
stay up until 7 in the morning.
I'm exactly
every
the same.
day.
I have to because I'm just like, if I hear people outside and I'm in that bunk and they're laughing, having a good time, I'm just like, I should be there.
I know. I'm like, they're saying something cool that I'm for sure missing out on, and I need to know, and I have to drink. I agree with you, but the thing about Gorod that was different than me is that they would stay up until 6 or 7 in the morning and then be up at 8 drinking wine and just looking all over
Just
the
going
city.
hard, going
Yeah.
hard.
I know,
Like-
one day we stayed up so late, and then the bus had to go drop us off, and we look out the window, and they're at a cafe.
Having
All of them,
breakfast
like, waving
and
to the
drinking,
bus.
and they're drinking wine and
And I
having
was like
breakfast.
so hungover and just like a mess, and I was like, how is this happening?
Yeah.
Like, what? These guys are built.
I think
Yeah.
the key is to just start drinking again. And
Yeah.
then it's
Yeah.
like the party never ends, dude.
Crazy.
Hair of the dog, man.
Yeah, no, but then you get home after the tour and you're just like full blown alcoholic.
Oh,
like,
we're
that's
a
happened to
mess,
me before,
man.
especially on those European tours because you get
Same.
given so much stuff on the
I
rider every
know.
night that you're just like, I can't not drink. There's just always alcohol, and then you get home and I'm like, why am I shaking right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, like when we got home from that Europe tour, we were like all overweight and just like total mess.
We
like,
went-
and we're like, all right, let's hit the gym, man.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Like,
Yeah,
We
yeah.
went
Like-
full blown diet gym mode. It was like, and then the next tour that we did in the States, which was a few months later, we were completely sober. So we did a
like,
tour with
all right.
Rivers of Nile and Conjurer and Wolf King, and they don't know us as like people who party
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we were super sober during
Yeah,
that tour.
yeah.
on that tour, we're
Which
like,
is
we're just
weird.
going strict, like militant, not
Yeah.
drinking. And then
Yeah, I think
so they probably think that we're like total, just like
Crazy psychos.
No, but definitely, like, since COVID, I was like, we had that realization that, like, you know what I mean, this is our jobs now, this isn't a party, like, so before shows, like, you know what I mean, I'll just hit, like, light beers and stuff like that, and maybe one shot before I go on
Yeah.
stage to warm up. But yeah, no, I think on those first few tours, we were just, like, going hard,
Of
like,
course.
partying all the time, and before
So-
the show it didn't matter.
You and Luke started the band, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then you got everybody else afterwards,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So it
Okay.
started like just an internet project back in 2014. Luke was playing in another band called Your Cynical Sanity, and I was in like this slam project in Port Elizabeth called Acrimonious Anatomization.
Okay.
But,
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, no,
Wait, hold on. Acrimonious
Anatomization.
I like it.
Yeah,
I
we
like
just
it.
wanted a long, like, slam-esque name. But
For sure.
So that band ended up falling through, and Luke also left the band that he was in. And I had listened to that band, and they were one of the only South African bands that had proper recordings at the time. So I messaged Luke over Facebook Messenger. We had never met. We were living in different cities. And I was like, dude, I just saw you left your band. We're both into heavy stuff. Like, let's just create the heaviest stuff that's ever come out of South Africa. And then he just trusted me. It was so funny. I had like this really like shitty BlackBerry, and I was just sending him like voice notes of me just like covering songs, and they were so bad. Like we actually pulled some of them up. It was just just crackling and noise and shit. But he would like go around his music school and like show everybody like, this is my vocalist. Like, we're gonna do an EP together. Blah blah. And he went and he recorded a 3-track EP with this guy named Byron Dunwoody, and he was the one responsible for this good production and these songs, because he was like one of the first people in South Africa that like built a cool home studio.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really responsible for a lot of the stuff in Vulvodynia. And then he recorded 3 tracks with Luke, for Luke, and Luke just emailed those to me. He caught a bus up to Johannesburg for like 2 weeks. And my parents were like, who's this kid? Like, 'cause he like pretty much just moved in. He was supposed to just be there for a weekend, and he just stayed there. And we were supposed to record the album, and we just ended up partying for 2 weeks. And then he left, and I recorded the vocals on like a broken drum mic. Well, I mean, broken, it was all mashed up and like, but we recorded those vocals and released the demo, which was Lord of Plagues. And we started getting response from people overseas, and we got approached by this company called Brutal Gear. I don't know, they're not going anymore, but it was like a merch company here in the US, and they said they wanted to do 100 copies of the EP and do our first 25 shirts, because we had never released merch. And I thought it was a scam. Like, I told Luke, I don't think we should go with this. Like, this sounds weird. And Luke behind my back just emailed and was like, okay, it's fine, let's do it. And sent in the tracks. And before I knew it, we had like 100 copies of that in the US, and they managed to sell all 100 of them.
Yeah,
and
so that was in like 2015?
Yeah, 2014. So that was our first like 100 fans kind of that we got out of those albums. I remember messaging each one of the customers and like asking them for a photo of them like holding the CD, just so we could brag to everybody in South Africa and be like, look, we have fans, like we have them. And then eventually from there we got approached by an Australian label called Vicious Instinct Records, still going at the moment, a cool guy Matt, and he signed us for the first 2 albums, for Cognizant Castigation and Finis Omnium Ignorantium. The blue and the red album, as we call it.
Right,
For short. But after that, like, that was just...
so those 2 were just you and Luke?
Yeah, no, actually, so after the EP, Byron, the guy that recorded Luke, saw how while we were doing off of those 3 tracks, he was like, can I join the band? So he was the first person that joined beside Luke, and he was the producer as well, so we got to record songs for free, which was like something a lot of bands, especially like brutal bands that side, couldn't afford, like, because a normal studio would charge you quite a bit.
Right.
So he was like... And he was doing the production and everything for those first albums, even Psychosadistic Design. But then after Psychosadistic Design, he ended up leaving the band because he got heavy into like game design. But he's still in my other band, Zavleg, the band with the really long name.
That's how you... I was...
No, we call it Zavleg for short, but the full name is acidic vaginal liquid explosion generated by mass amounts of filthy fecal fisting, a sadistic septic syphilic sodomy inside the infected, maggot-infested womb of a molested nun dying under the roof of a burning church while a priest watches and ejaculates in immense perverse pleasure of his first fresh fetus. So that's
that was amazing. I expected you to stop like 4 times while you were saying that.
We actually had a pretty early on Twitch comment that was like, say the Zavleg full name off the top of your head, Duncan.
That's amazing. Well, it's like remembering lyrics, I would imagine.
We actually done a Europe tour with that band, and I had to introduce us every night, and it was like crazy because like, hey guys, we're blah, 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 and the whole name goes all. So I had to learn it off by heart because fans were like learning it before I could.
Holy shit.
I actually, so we toured with you guys. I wasn't that familiar, and then I went on Spotify. And I saw that you guys have like I don't know, infinite bands and projects, and
Yeah.
like all of you guys
so
are in
many
like,
side
yeah,
projects.
it's really cool.
Like, I feel like, especially with the South African scene being so small, it's kind of like that. Like, everybody's always in everybody's bands.
Yeah.
And we have so many different projects. But in the Vulvodynia camp, like, I think to be able to tour and pay our rent and stuff like that, we need to have, like, all these multiple projects. And the cool thing about Zavlig is, like, we haven't played shows in years and recorded anything in years, but we still sell merch, and it's pretty much just my meme page now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But we're busy with a new album for that band too, so it's just like something we have on the side for some extra money.
That was another
awesome.
question that popped up, that someone wanted to know if there was going to be new material for that.
Yeah, no, there will be for sure. We're doing Gore 3.0.
Okay.
So like the last album was like 23 tracks, and now we're doing like 30 something tracks for the next one. But we're gonna add a lot of like grind tracks in there. So some of them will be easy, quick ones, like 10-second tracks.
Oh, awesome.
Like, yeah.
I like that. I like that about you guys, that you just want to like play music and you're stoked about playing music, and that's what you fucking do all the time.
Yeah, I think to be able to do music for a living, you have to like, I don't know, branch out and do so many things. Like Tom, our drummer, plays for like the biggest ska band in Africa called Fuzzy Gish.
I remember him talking about that.
Yeah, and like it's crazy because Tom and Chris, our bassist and our drummer, they were playing in like some of the biggest bands ever in South Africa, like rock bands and punk bands and things like that before Vulvodynia. So they pretty much taught us how to tour and how to do all of the things that we do when we're on tour. So it's super cool.
Not be total noobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, like, was there a scene in South Africa, in Johannesburg, for you growing up? Like, did you go to shows or?
Yeah, no, there definitely was a scene. It's always been super small. There were some bands that broke through and actually hit the international scene. Like back in the 90s, there was a grindcore. No, well, I can't say grindcore. I'd just say grind, to be honest. Band called Groin Churn, and they were like one of the first underground bands to tour Europe. They actually played with Napalm Death back in the day.
Okay.
So Napalm Death came to...
No, I actually think they got on a tour with Napalm Death overseas, but Napalm Death also came to South Africa with like Bolt Thrower, and they played with them, and that was in the 90s. When I was still, super young before I was going to shows. But then later on, when I entered the scene, like deathcore and metalcore were just like, like starting to get bigger. It was around like 2008. And I just remember that was when all of the deathcore bands appeared in Johannesburg, and there was one called The Dead Will Tell, and they actually recorded a really sick album, which is still like holds up to this day. And they done an Australian tour, and I remember watching them so many times, and like they inspired us a lot to do the brutal stuff. But the thing in South Africa is a lot of the artists just end up giving up because like they don't break into the international market, and a lot of them, it's just like a hobby type thing. They don't want to do it full time.
Right.
So like, they'll just record like 2 amazing albums and then disappear, and you know what I mean?
Right.
Like go have kids and start a family. And
Totally, which there are a lot of bands like that who do it in the US, but it's just easier to get people to hear about you when you're in the US, when you're like, you can hop on shows. Like people are playing shows in the town you're in like every other day.
You can get in a van and drive.
Or get in a van.
Somewhere. So I'd assume that there it's pretty limited in terms of how many local shows you can really do.
I think South Africa, you can have maybe 4 local shows. 2 of them will be Johannesburg and Cape Town. Those will be big because we book 2 of the biggest festivals in South Africa that we started last year. It's Johannesburg Death Fest and Cape Town Death Fest, and that pulls easily like 2,000 people. We always sell out.
That's crazy.
That's
but
amazing.
then we have Port Elizabeth and Durban. Port Elizabeth is where I stay, and Durban is where the band originated from, like with Luke's side. And there you can pull like maybe 200 people, 250, so it's like a small show. But we do have that. But outside of South Africa, not far, we have Mozambique and we have Botswana. And their scene is insane.
Those are in Africa.
It's like just above South Africa, so you
what's above?
can just it's like you can just drive through the border and head into those places, and like their scene is insane. It's like everybody's leather clad, like cowboy outfits, and like you should check it out on YouTube. It's insane.
Wow.
And it's just like no other show we've ever played. Like while we were on stage, like people were just coming to us and like throwing money at us like we were busking. And like these dudes,
Wait, like you were busking?
Yeah, like
what's that word?
Yeah, well, like we were playing music on the side of the road. Like they were just giving us money, and we were like, "What the fuck?" And 5 of the dudes in the crowd just came to me and like gripped my ankles while I was standing there, and they're just holding my ankles. And like they went to Chris, and like this dude like grabbed his crotch, and we were like, "What the fuck is going, like the weirdest show we've ever been to. And like instead of a circle pit, they all held hands, and it was like Ring of Rosies type vibes. Like they were all like running in a circle. But then they had this dude in the middle, like having like a fit, like he looked possessed. And we were like, what the fuck is going on? And then everybody like closed in, and they all just like piled on top of this guy. Like just jumped on top of him. And we were like, fuck, this is insane. And afterwards we asked them what happened. And they were like, no, they were initiating him into the scene. Like he was like a dude that doesn't listen to metal, and they're getting him into metal and like initiated him into
initiation.
Okay. And everybody has like these weird like wrestling like type names. Like, I don't know, Crack Dust and Skinflint and like, just like, and they give you a name like when you get there. They gave me Evil Jesus.
Okay.
Like,
sick.
Evil Jesus, bro.
I like
That's
that.
fucking
Evil
dope.
Jesus.
I want to play there.
How
do we make this happen?
If you guys ever come down there, we'll hook that up. So I think like 6 shows is max, and you do it in like 12 days. So every day, every second day will be an off day, and you can do all the cool touristy stuff like the safari shit. And even our beaches are really nice. Like we have some of the best surf spots in the world.
Really?
So yeah, it's super cool.
Are there a lot of sharks?
Yes, there are, especially in Cape Town. Like there's a lot of great white sharks that side, and, like all the brutal stuff. But there's nets and shark nets and stuff. In Port Elizabeth, where I stay, it's not as bad. And our beaches are warmer on that side because the Atlantic Ocean meets the Indian Ocean at the bottom there. So Cape Town's waters are super cold, but Port Elizabeth is like nice and warm.
Yeah, in Santa Cruz, there's actually a lot of sharks, like where we used to live, and it's because the water is like freezing. So
yeah.
It's kind of counterintuitive, but sharks like cold water.
Yeah, they do, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, we lived in Santa Cruz for 10 years, and I never swam in the water just because it was too cold. Anyway,
you never got in there?
Never.
Wow,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Sometimes it's so intense, like you walk in, and as soon as your feet get in there, they just start paining. It's like, oh, okay, I can't walk into this. It's going to be too intense.
Well, it's like, have you ever done an ice bath?
No, I haven't. That sounds...
we went to like a Russian sauna, Russian bathhouse in New York City that had a huge ice bath, and you would get in the sauna and then go into the ice bath. So I went into the sauna and then jumped in the ice bath, and it's like, it's one of the most, it's like having an out-of-body experience.
Really
it
cool.
takes your soul directly out of your
insane. I'm
vessel.
sure it must be like good for your muscles and shit. Like probably loosens you up.
Yeah.
I've done a beer bath before. In Prague, in Prague, in Czech Republic.
Yeah,
me and my lady went on like the beer bath there, and like we had a friend there from another band called Silent Generation that actually hooked it up for me because he works there. And it's like you go down there, you get an hour. You can either get like half an hour in the beer bath and then half an hour massage. But we were just like, no, we want to do the beer bath for the full hour. So it's like they fill this bath with like barley and hops and all kinds of stuff like that. And you climb in there, and then you each get like a big beer mug, and the bath tap just spits beer. Like so and then they have like a score of like people's high score of how many beers they've had in the bath. So like we were just like trying to top the score, like I got like 4 beers in, and we were so wasted, like, and because it's hot as it's like a hot tub, so you're just sitting there getting wasted. And it didn't help that we had like what do you call it, absinthe for the first time just before we went there.
Is it real absinthe?
It was real,
like
absinthe.
Trippy real.
It was the real stuff. So but it didn't end well. Like after that we left, and I think I threw up in the next bar we went to, and we were like the only people at the bar, and I ordered I think he gave me like some peach like moonshine type shit.
That's a good idea.
And it's a great idea.
Let's give this wasted guy
and
fruity alcohol after you've already been drinking.
Dude,
really
bad.
bad.
It was no good. As soon as I took the shot, we took it together. My lady went to the bathroom, and I'm standing in front of the bartender, and he's just standing there cleaning his glass, looking at me, and I think he knew. And I was like, oh my God. And I just like threw up in my hand. I was like, I'm so sorry. And I ran to the bathroom and just grabbed a bunch of tissue and like cleaned the whole area. He was like, don't worry, it's okay. Yeah. That was a joy. We went to like the Sex Machine Museum after that. And if you're ever in Prague, go to that. It's so dope. It's like, just they had dildos there from like fucking ancient times and like all the sex machines, and they had like a theater that played like one of the first pornos ever made, and it was just giggle city.
Like
we were just like laughing like little kids, like wherever we were. It was so funny.
Do they have one of those, the hand crank dildo?
Yeah, it's actually at the entrance. Like when you get there,
that's the first thing you see. Welcome.
It's right next to the astronomical clock. If anybody's wondering,
we'll have to go check that out.
Yeah, I want to check that out. That
Prague
sounds
is
really
one of
awesome.
my favorite cities in the whole world.
It's really cool.
So Julian from Gorod, he is like an art historian. And that's what he does for a job.
That's so sick.
He travels around Europe doing that, and he lived in Prague for a while, just showing everyone everything. So the day that we were in Prague, Julian took us around the city and told us about all of the art and all of the amazing sculptures and art. Prague is like the most gothic, amazing
so sick. It feels
place.
like you're walking in like Dark Souls or something like that when you're there, especially at night. It's insane. And they don't use the euro there. They have their own currency, which is quite weak. Yeah. So if you go over there with like a small budget, you're just bawling.
Well, you know, that the currency fucked me over in Prague because I was like half drunk and not paying attention to what I was charging people.
No, exactly. That happened to us as well because their notes look so weird but so similar. So it could either be like 50,000 or 5,000 or something like that. And you just like, it's 50,000. I don't know. I can't remember. I think we were charging, like, it was in the thousands for like a hoodie. And then also somebody paid and it turned out it was like a 500 note instead. And we're like, oh, fuck. You don't know. I think they take advantage of that with touring bands.
Oh, they do. I'm pretty sure I was charging like $3 a shirt that night because I had no idea. And at the end of the night, I was like, no.
I actually found a big...
Fuck that crackling, man. I don't know what it is. Fuck it.
It's
all good.
I don't know whose mic is doing it.
We'll just roll with crackling.
A little crackling. Anyway, I found a pile of money in the street in Prague. The first time I went. It was like a bunch of their currency. And I was like, I'm going to grab that. And I just grabbed it and put it in my pocket. And like no one was looking. And I went back and counted it all. And it was like, it was a lot of their currency. It was like $20,000 or whatever. But it turned out to be like $200 US. So I was still stoked.
Dude,
Not bad.
I was still stoked. I was like, I just found $200. Like, this is freaking sick. And then, and then I got home and I had that extra 200.
That's not bad. Right. But yeah, Prague is one of my favorite places that I've ever been to. Really cool.
Yeah, that happened with the Zimbabwean currency at one point. Like it went like so crazy that people were paying like 2 million or something for, and it was going so fast that like you'd have a note and like in 2 days it's like worthless compared to what it was 2 days ago. So then eventually they were like printing like $1 billion notes. Stupid shit like that. Eventually, it all good.
That's
abolished.
So are you close to Zimbabwe? Like
where
does
I think we're
South
bordering Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Mozambique. Mozambique is also really nice. Botswana was the one I was talking about with like the leather-clad dudes and all of that.
Right.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, let me know if you want to know.
Yeah, no, so they would have all the leather-clad dudes, but Mozambique is like tropical, like fucking, I don't know, like California type stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But it's weird. It's like amazing city, but like ghost town. But then the show's super packed and like the bands are super crazy.
Oh, really? So like when you're out and about, there's not a whole lot of people?
No, it's weird. It feels like they built like this crazy big city, but then when you walk in there, you're like, where is everybody?
Okay.
Because I'm used to like being in like Johannesburg, which is like our biggest city in South Africa. Mm-hmm. And when you're there, it's people everywhere. Okay. And it's actually, it's quite dangerous in the heart of the city in Johannesburg. Like you get robbed and like nobody does anything, which is kind of fucked. But it's like, we don't go near there. Like I don't go near there at all.
Well, am I correct in saying this, that you guys were saying one of you lives in the city and there's a huge fence around your property? Maybe it was Tom.
Yeah, no, actually, like most of us, that's like a normal thing there, that every property has a massive fence. We actually have a bigger private security force than our police force because people don't trust the cops. So like they'll rather pay for a security company that'll show up quicker with like real guns than like waiting for the cops to arrive 2 hours later after you're dead already, you know, that type of shit.
Really?
So we have like, electric fences and crazy big walls, and we've all been robbed before and had crazy house robberies and all kinds of shit like that. So yeah, it's like,
come into the house?
Yeah, no, definitely. In like 2009, I remember it was the night Obama was inaugurated, like, because I watched it on TV, and I lived in the back room of the house, and I was chilling in my sister's room. We were busy like drinking, and these dudes just came in through the door, tied up my entire family in the room, and like emptied the whole house, put it in our cars, and like drove off with that shit. But then they started shooting at the cops who were following them. So the cops ended up like getting everything back, but it got put in evidence rooms, and it took 5 years for the case to get like, I mean, they eventually got arrested and like the whole court case and everything. And after the 5 years, when they eventually got sentenced, all of our stuff was gone from like the evidence rooms.
So people
because they don't tag shit properly. So I think like when you walk into the evidence room, they kind of just tell you like, just take what's yours. And then you're like, where the fuck is my shit?
Okay.
That's insane.
But then you just end up taking other people's stuff. You're like, fuck, I need a TV. I lost the TV. This looks good. Fucking,
man.
That type of shit.
So is that a thing that you're like brought up with, that the cops are pretty much no good to you? And is the law?
It's just like they take so long to show up that like people rather pay the private security companies. But like some of the private security companies are like in on some of the robberies that happen because
oh God.
You know what I mean?
Corruption.
Yeah. So it's incredibly corrupt.
Yeah, it really is. South Africa is. But like, we try and just stay as far away from that as possible.
Yeah.
Don't involve ourselves in that because like, yeah, where we stay, we're super safe, like at the moment, like all of us. But when that happened, we were all like living in dodgy areas before the band started. And you know what I mean? Yeah. So we can afford to not be in the shit. You know, wherever you go in the world, there's always dangerous places.
I know. That's what I want to make very clear about that is that you can talk about stuff that's happening in South Africa, but I'm sure that that it's a place that people should visit, and there's actually a lot of good going on there.
Like,
as well.
and the thing I tell a lot of people, especially bands touring from there, is like, I know it gets a lot of flack, especially in Western media, but it's actually one of the most beautiful places in the world. It has some of the best weather, and like, if we know you and you get there, we'll immediately pick you up and make sure nothing ever happens, because it's like shit like that happens is usually foreigners going there, they don't know anybody there, and then not realizing they're going to the wrong area.
Right.
And I mean, that could happen anywhere. Like,
dude, anywhere.
Yeah,
if you go to the wrong part, we're in Nashville right now. If you go to the wrong part of Nashville, you know,
you're gonna be fucked.
You're gonna be fucked.
So yeah, it's just like it gets a lot of flack, and I know it is a dangerous place, but we never move from there, like for sure. Like, I think the cost of living just trumps anything else. Like, it's just like so
it's
cheap.
incredibly
it's really cheap to live there, and if we can earn money in other currencies and exchange it into ours, then we can. I'd rather live like a king in South Africa than like, you know what I mean, a peasant back the side or something like that.
Well, and it's your home. It's where you're from.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's where my family is. So.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't see yourself ever moving anywhere
else? Yeah, I don't
else
think so. But maybe like what I want to do is like get property there at some point. And then if I do want to move the side, I always have, a home to go back to there.
Absolutely.
But is it common to own property there?
Yeah, like actually a lot of people from America and like other countries go and buy property there because of how cheap it is.
Okay.
Especially on the coastal areas, because it's so nice and like pretty beautiful, cheap, and like safe at the coastal towns.
How much are we talking? Like dollar amounts? How much does
like
it cost?
Brass tacks.
You could probably get a nice place on the beach, like almost like mansion style, for like maybe $200,000-$300,000.
Holy
Okay.
fuck!
That's pretty good.
Yeah, like under $1 million, you could get a place that would cost you more than $1 million this side. For sure.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And like so investing just makes so much sense that side.
Totally. I mean,
property's where it's at. Well, with anybody, you know what I mean, invest in property, do it.
Yeah.
You got it. It's the only
do it, because then you
real
have
thing.
something to your name, and it's something that no one can take away from you as long as you mind your P's and Q's,
Yeah.
And have a lot of guns and stuff.
And an
especially
electric
this side. I'm just sad I haven't shot any guns in the US yet.
Oh, you
man.
haven't?
We should have went to the. We should
I
have
know we
went to
should
the
have went
range.
to the range.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only shot guns once years ago at a range, but it's kind of scary. Well, you've shot guns.
I have in South Africa, because my dad's also like heavy into that stuff. But it's also quite hard to get that side, like, you know what I mean? It's hard to get a license and get firearms there. But
strict
like,
gun laws. And
yeah,
stuff.
it's super strict. But I've definitely hit ranges. My dad actually used to work as like a trainer at like one of those ranges. Like,
oh really?
Oh, fascinating. So are you good at shooting?
Yeah, I would say.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay, secretly like a protege.
But I can't say, because I feel like people from the US probably shoot way more.
Yeah, depending where you're at. People in Tennessee tend to have guns for sure. Because
there's like no gun laws here. So
it's open carry.
Yeah, it's just.
This is a crazy story actually. So a fan on this tour, I think it was in Ohio, it was the craziest thing that anybody's ever offered to give me. He was like, super cool dude, like bought us all drinks, like gave us tons of tips at the merch table. And later on in the night, he comes to me, he's like, bro, I've got a gun in my car. And he's like, you guys can take this thing, man. Like, it's yours. You must have it. And he wouldn't take no for an answer. I was like, no, dude, we don't want your gun. And he's like, just take it, man. Just take it. And he's like, I got it wrapped in a cloth and everything. And then the more he spoke, I was like, this guy's just trying to like get rid of this thing. I'm not touching it.
Yeah, I know. What did you do with the gun, dude?
It was crazy. The band was like, dude, don't you dare go with that guy.
Fuck no. Oh, you'd get in huge trouble as well for if you got caught with it.
Well, exactly. And, state to state, the laws are like completely different.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's the last thing we want is getting pulled over, and this cop's like, "Who's this firearm registered to?" And
if
like,
it's wrapped,
I don't know where that came from.
Wrapped in a cloth doesn't sound very official.
I know.
It sounds
like, he even mentioned like he was like the serial numbers are scratched off, and like I was like, no, dude,
okay, super the sketchiest gun I've ever heard of in my life.
Just like he looked a little bit like Bob. Actually, it's just like this fat bald guy, and he had like this blue shirt that just said "freedom."
Okay.
On it. And I was like,
he's trying to get it.
Sure, he's a fantastic man, but I don't know about the guy.
Yeah. Definitely the craziest thing I've ever been offered on tour.
He can send it to me if he wants.
What's the second craziest thing you've ever been offered on tour?
Oh, fuck, I don't know. I'm trying to think.
It's usually pretty run of the mill for people out there, like it's weed or a drink or a shirt. You know?
No, actually, on the last tour, I got given a cat fetus in a jar. And
Duncan,
I was like, this is so sick. This is awesome. And then our guitarist, Chris, he's vegan. The same chick, like I think she works at a vet or something. And she was like, these got aborted. So that's why like she put them in jars. But anyway, so it was in a jar with formaldehyde. She offered Chris one as well. And he was like, what? He was mortified. He was like, I don't want this. Like, what the fuck? And I kept mine. No, I kept mine. I couldn't fly home with it. But I kept it for so long. And eventually the band found it somewhere in the van. Like, I think it like fell out my bag and rolled. And they were like, Duncan, what the fuck? Like, why did you keep this thing? I was like, don't, it's mine. But I ended up giving it to this band from Florida called Poon Tickler.
Poon Tickler.
Yeah, good friends of mine.
That's a fantastic name.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool if it was
another
like,
couple band.
Like
really?
This thing that you just... Like it always is on tour. So one band gives it to the next band.
Oh yeah, it's like a handoff in like a race, a baton.
Because they live there. I was like, you can take this home because I don't want to fly home with that. I can't imagine because we usually go via Dubai. And they'd be like, what the fuck is this? And I don't know what that liquid is, if it's flammable or like,
right.
or not. So I was just like, I couldn't take it home. But it was so bad. He actually sent me a photo of it on like the stand next to their TV. And he was like, when are you going to start paying me child support, bro? I was like, I don't know, dude. I'm sorry, man.
Channy, would you keep that?
Yeah, I'd keep it. Even though it's not totally like
it's more medical, like
if it was just
and it wasn't like
it wasn't murdered.
They didn't like torture it first.
As long as they didn't do that, I would totally be down for it. I don't know what
they usually do. They probably just throw it in the dumpster otherwise.
It's actually like a good thing. So Chris should have kept it. That's actually probably the most vegan thing to do.
Yeah, he's mortified. He was mortified. And even the other members in the band, they're like, dude, just get rid of this. And I was like, no, I can't. I'm going to give it to someone. And we tried selling it at the merch table as well, like signing it. That didn't go down well either.
I'm really
like
surprised
fans walking up, ready to buy merch, see the thing, walk away.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, fuck.
So it looked kind of scary then.
Yeah, the Lon dealer was like, dude, you take that thing off the merch table. I was like, damn.
You know, it's funny, Duncan, just thinking about the word Poon Tickler. So before we went on tour together, we did a podcast episode where we were like going through and looking up the meanings of the names of the bands on the Archspire tour, and Vulvodynia like actually is what you would imagine it being. So I am curious. I know this is one of those questions, but like why do you guys name where did it come from?
We were super influenced by like Ingested and Acrania, which is another UK band, and they were like one of the first ones to mix this whole slamming brutal death metal with deathcore and stuff.
Yeah, the vocalist of that is his name's Luke.
Luke Griffin.
Yeah, he's fucking sick.
Yeah, he has like a hip hop project now called Shush, which is like his new thing. They're super cool. But anyway, so like we saw Acrania is like this medical condition where kids are born without proper like skull bones or something like that, and their faces are like really sunken in and stuff. So we're like, that's brutal. We should probably name our band after a medical term as well. So we were looking at like just all these crazy medical terms, and we came across Vulvodynia, and we were like, that's fucking brutal, dude.
That is
like, let's take that. And we've actually caught some flack in the past, like by women who actually suffer from it, like messaging us. But like we've also done, whenever we do like a charity thing, or when we always donate to like the National Vulvodynia Association of Canada.
That's fantastic.
We even like, this was Trevor's idea actually from the Black Dahlia murder. He was like, you guys should release a shirt that says "My pussy hurts" on the back. We were like, that's so awesome. So that was the first charity run that we did. We released just a shirt that said "My Pussy Hurts" on the back with our logo, and we gave, I think it was like 25% of the proceeds to the NVA.
So
good guy. Amazing.
So like, when those ladies hit us up, we're just like, we're still spreading awareness for the disease. We're still trying to help out where we can. I mean, it's not often a death metal band like donates to the disease they're named after.
Yeah, very true.
That's a way to flip it on the haters.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, hey, dude, what are you doing?
That's amazing.
It was really right. With that Prune Tickler band, actually, I created an AI generated music video for them. And that's how I met them. Because they saw all the AI generated art I was doing. And they were like, can you do a music video for this? Because they have a song called, I'm trying to think of the name now. Something like, I want a donkey in my ass or something like that. And it's like about a donkey raping a woman. And like they wanted this in a music video, but they wouldn't get taken down from YouTube. So I was like, if it's AI generated, it's just going to look like a blend of just like donkey dick and skin and all kinds of shit. And they're like, that's exactly what they want. So I created like one of the first AI generated music videos.
Oh, really?
And it was cool. Like, and now it's advanced so much that you can create some insane looking stuff. Hopefully I get hired for a song that isn't as hectic as that.
I saw an AI generated music video like a week ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is fucking insane. It's just all the images kind of like floating and molding. And it's fantastic.
Yeah, because like I think it's almost perfected AI generated images at the moment. And the next big step is AI generated video. Mm-hmm. You even get like AI generated music at the moment. And I worked with this group called DataBots. And they were like one of the first AI generated bands. And they would take hours of like different metal genres and actually teach it to neural networks. And they would take what it spat out and put that on Bandcamp. And I actually found them because they have an infinite live stream on YouTube of a bot that's trained on all the Artspire songs, creating new Artspire music as we speak. And it's like, I swear it's the most insane shit ever.
What's that called?
DataBots.
Okay.
DataBots. You just type in Artspire Infinite Livestream. And it sounds so close to like, well, it's still pretty raw, but like that technology is improving every day. And there's an AI song contest that happens in Europe every year. And they approached me because they came to a show on the last tour. I think it was in Brooklyn. And they were like, dude, we want to train an AI bot on all your vocal tracks and use it in the song. And the song's called Nuns in a Mosh Pit. And I AI generated the artwork as well, like all these nuns moshing and shit. And so I sent them all of my recorded tracks that I'd ever recorded off my door. And they ended up just putting that through this bot. And it's so insane listening to the track because it's like my voice, but it's not me. Okay. And it's kind of like digital immortality, because if it advances enough, one day before we die, we can just give an AI everything we've ever recorded, and it will be able to create new songs, like new ENTHEOS tracks.
Oh yeah,
long after you're dead.
Let's go.
We were talking about this kind of last week. We were talking about this kind of last week with programmed drums, and wondering if you could like about programming vocals, and this is like that to the
and
extreme
like
degree.
even with GPT-3. Which is OpenAI's text bot, like just text, like it's trained on all the text on the internet. You can actually feed it written music notation, like just a section of a song, and say finish the song, and then it'll write the rest of the song for you. So it's getting really intense. And like Jukebox AI is the one that does the music stuff, and you need to go and check out DataBots and that song Nuns in a Mosh Pit. Like we got to like the top 10 on that AI song contest. We sadly didn't win, but the song is super weird. It's like
I gotta
I know, I'm excited to check that out.
And so now it's like next step is AI generated video, and after they've perfected that, I think it's going to be like AI generated VR worlds. So like once you have Neuralink, you know, that thing that Elon Musk is currently like, doing, like you'll be able to just like close your eyes and be like, I want to be in Paris on fire, and you'll literally be there, and you'll be able to smell it, see it, like it'll be really intense. So I think that's the future. And digital immortality, like being able to upload our consciousness into this neural network that can be us for the rest of our lives, even though we're dead.
Yeah, there's a show on like Amazon Prime or Hulu that's called Upload. That's about that essentially, but it's just people who have uploaded themselves into like this nursing home type of world. And it's that, but it's kind of a limited world. So they can only...
There's a lot of scary things about it. Like, you should also check out Black Mirror on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, there's that one episode
Super
as well
sick.
where they like put I think this chick's husband dies, and then he uploads his consciousness into her head, but then she falls in love with somebody else, and she doesn't want him there anymore, and she pretty much just turns off his ability to talk, and he's just forced to see everything that she sees, like him falling in love. I mean, her falling in love with a new person and everything, and eventually they take his consciousness out and put it in like a teddy bear. And then he just and eventually he gets ditched by his family, and he's just like this teddy bear, just stuck. He can't move, can't say anything, and that's that's pretty scary.
Oh yeah, it's
but like I doubt you would actually know what's going on. You'd be dead, but it would just be what the AI can copy of you, the essence of you.
Well,
Like,
it does make you wonder, like, where is the morality going? Like, are people going to be concerned with morals and like ethics? What ethically is okay for us to do with people? Because there's no soul in it, really. There's like the soul dies when it comes to that thing. And there's a lot of like, even with that jukebox AI now, it's gotten to the point, especially with normal music, that it sounds super real. You can be like, I want Elvis Presley singing these lyrics in the style of Blink-182, and it will literally generate you a song like that. You can check it. There's a lot of them on YouTube now. That's insane. And that's like you said, you never know, because where does the copyright thing come into this? Because it's like a lot of people's artwork, even with the AI generated stuff, but like even artwork that we create, like if I had to paint something, that art that I paint is just an influence of everything I've learned from other human beings. That's why. 100%. So I was telling you before the podcast that you are how I found out about AI art, because you were posting about it, and I saw some people. People have opinions about AI art. I personally think it's an amazing thing, and we've talked about this on a podcast before, that it's just like a tool, like you were saying. Yeah. We are all just products of all of the things we've experienced and done in our lives. So how is that AI art? I don't see as being any different. I also see it as being a thing that people can use to improve how they're doing away art, from the AI.
No, I think the thing is, it's just scary to a lot of artists, because it back in the day, if you wanted something, like album art or something like that, you'd have to go to like a very select few people who could do that. Right. And this puts art into the hands of like the everyday normal person who can, articulate the art that they want to see in words, but they can't actually paint it. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's really rad that it's putting that into the hands of new people, but it's exactly what happened when like the camera was first invented.
It's
like
been happening
portrait artists were like, this isn't real art, like the camera's doing the art. And that's the same flack that I've caught. Like people are like, this isn't your art, this is the AI's art. But the thing is, if I wasn't putting those prompts in and generating multiple images, I wouldn't be getting the art. So whether they like it or not, it's still my art. Adobe is actually trying to acquire some text-to-image AI generation stuff, so like to incorporate in Photoshop. So eventually, once it's incorporated in Photoshop and people are just typing in words there, they won't even realize it's an AI doing it anymore.
Yeah, and
so it's like...
But also, it's like, here's the thing about art. Every brain is going to produce a different kind of art. And that's why art is so fantastic. And that's why many artists, thousands, millions of artists, millions of musicians and people can exist and do something that's maybe in the same lane, but also make a living off of it. Yeah. Just because AI exists, it doesn't make your art any less valuable.
Exactly. It's pretty much just a tool. Like a camera or like Photoshop or like your iPad doing digital art is just another tool to get to the final product. The thing that pisses people off is just how quick it is.
Yeah,
it can, but that's because AI is like a million times more advanced than the human brain. Like we can only take influence from like a few artists that we've seen, where this thing is trained on every single artist that's ever existed.
Right.
So it's like so advanced that artists really are just like, why am I spending 40 hours on this fucking drawing when I can just type it in here and get the same thing? So, but I think real art will never die. Like people still want, and like a lot of the AI stuff, especially back in the day, it was like back in the day, that's like 6 months ago. It just looked so, you could see immediately that it was AI generated. Whereas now, like even while I was on tour, like I didn't go on for like 2 weeks, started generating some stuff, and they've already improved the neural networks and it looks so fucking real. It's just like, what the fuck? So it's super cool. And it's a rad tool also for people to deal with grief and shit like that. Like I've seen a lot of people like creating cool art for people that they know that have passed away. And I managed to do that as well for my bunny that passed away on this tour. So I was like, it's cool, like for dealing with grief or just putting art into the hands of people who wouldn't be able to do it otherwise. It's super cool.
Oh, absolutely. And art I think that all of us can relate on this. It's an incredibly cathartic thing to do. Like that is a lot of why I play music, a lot of why I draw and do everything I do is because it's a complete catharsis. It's how I channel any emotions that I'm going through. So that is just a tool for people who may not be able to paint or do whatever else to create something that is cathartic for them. And why would you hate on that?
No, exactly, definitely. I think it was just the fact that people were scared.
Yeah.
Like, because most of those artists that were like giving me shit when I first started doing it are all doing it now as well. And like you said, like as an artist, you can take cool influences or create like I know a lot of artists spend like hours creating like backgrounds for like images that they draw. Now you can create an instant background and just fill it in or like cut pieces, and it's such a cool tool, and people shouldn't be hating on it. It's like really, it's like such a cool advancement for humanity being able to do shit like that.
It's kind of like when the bedroom studio thing came out, you know, like the program drums and the amp simulators and all that stuff. Yeah, so producers were like super pissed about it. Yeah. But the thing is, it's come to a point where it's just totally integrated. Yeah. And everyone just sort of accepts it.
Exactly. And if like you think about it, how much good music has been made since the home studio was invented.
I mean, no, it's like that's kind of why you have bands like Periphery and stuff like that. You know, like they came out of that eruption of all that type of stuff. And for me, I'm like way into it. You know, it's like I want to hear it. I want to hear stuff that I think is really creative and cool, no matter what. I mean, it doesn't matter who made it to me.
Like, I feel like even like I said in South Africa, it's so expensive to book a studio that like a small band like us, when we were in the back in the day, wouldn't be able to afford recording good tracks. So like, if we didn't have home studios, we wouldn't have like, I wouldn't be here right now. That
exactly.
Type of thing.
So I mean, it like opened the door. Like if you think about music, if you like as you go back further and further, it's like fewer and fewer people were able to make good
like only music. People with money, like you know what I mean, that type of thing. Now it gives it to like every person like who could maybe not afford it back in the day and can put out the art.
And like when I found out that was like a thing, you know, like you can program drums and you can record. I was like, dude, this is fucking revolutionary, dude. Anybody can do it. But the thing that's funny about it is like people are still commissioning you to do art.
Yeah, exactly.
So that is proof that it's not like anyone can. Well, I guess it's like everybody can do their own thing, but there's still going to be style differences between each person.
Definitely, because like I said, it's trained on almost every style of art, every artist. So like there's infinite possibilities of what you can create, and that's what's so cool about it. So like even if somebody else starts doing the AI art, my art still might look completely different because it's all the art of the prompt, you know what I mean, and those secret keywords that everybody uses to get the final product. But it's so cool because it's also giving bands who could never afford good artwork and stuff the opportunity to have like the sickest shit for like next to nothing.
Right. I love it.
Which pisses a lot of people off. But like, I mean, if I was a band from a third world country and I couldn't afford good art, I'd be so happy having something like that.
Yeah, well, also, why would it piss people off? A part of playing music is the like inclusion part of it. I enjoy that everyone plays music. Like it's tight because then you can feed off of what they're doing. It's direct inspiration and it makes everything better. Yeah. It really like guitar players that are insane that exist right now wouldn't exist without someone from the 70s having pushed stuff forward and all of them kind of fighting. Yeah. So what I don't see what harm like pushing something forward.
Well, the same with like program drums made drummers like way better.
Yeah.
You know, like I wouldn't be playing the stuff I'm playing now if I hadn't have heard it programmed first, and I'm like, fuck, okay, well, I'm going to try to do that.
Yeah, I need to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. So live, it's like, that's obviously a whole different thing, but I think having the technology infused with the creativity of everybody, it's nothing but good.
It's the natural evolution of man. Like, I think, like, we're going to evolve. This AI is going to completely, you know what I mean, like outdo us in every way, and we're going to just assimilate. So like it's going to be like either the richest people in the world are going to become cyborgs and the AI is just going to wipe us out, or like who knows. But this is what the new Vulvodynia track is about. That's also I'm plugging that. We're dropping a new single at some point this year called Artificial Divinity.
I want to hear
it here first.
Well, I want to hear it. Are you playing it tonight?
No, I wish. We actually just finished recording it before we left for this tour, and that was we were trying to shoot a music video for it, but we're going to do it when we get back. I'm going to actually AI generate parts of the music video. The
Very
artwork
cool.
is AI generated. The song's about AI taking over. It's super cool. We just like boom, let's go.
On the forefront of the AI.
Yeah, you really are. How did you find out about it in the first place?
Like pretty much just last year, I remember seeing some of the first AI generated stuff using. At that time, it was just like we were using Google Colabs and something called it's VSRGAN or something like that. I might be wrong there, sorry. But and that was just running locally off of my computer, and that could only create like these really small images. And then Midjourney started, which is like the main platform that I use at the moment for my images. And they just had the best quality stuff. And I moved over there during the private beta still, so I made tons of images, 1,000 for free, and then it became a paid service. So I'm like, I've been doing this for like way before anybody else was doing it. Which is super
absolutely.
Cool. Getting into the private betas and stuff. But even DALL-E 2, that's OpenAI's text-to-image generator, and that one's super insane, like so realistic looking. And it's
well,
cool.
So does that one have a DALL-E vibe to everything that it produces?
The thing with DALL-E is that whatever you create, you don't own the copyright to.
Okay.
Whereas on Midjourney, whatever you create, you own the rights to. And you can create stuff privately, so nobody else gets to, steal your artwork.
Yeah,
But the best thing to actually do is do it locally. Because if you're doing it locally on your own computer, nobody else gets to see it, and it's like your own. Whereas I'm using servers that Midjourney has created at the moment.
So to do it local, you have to
just have a beefy PC and a good graphics card.
Got it.
And even if you don't actually, like, because I don't have that, and I use Google Colab, which is like the service that Google gives you where you pay $10 a month and you can run code off of Google's computing power. So you can just have an internet connection and run these Google Colab notebooks.
And they have like insane...
And every notebook is like a different AI. So like you get an AI for removing watermarks, you get an AI for like creating video, AI for creating... Even like those videos where you see like artwork moving and talking and stuff like that, that's all AI. So it's like, it's really cool. There's so many things you can do, even upscaling images, colorizing black and white photos.
I've seen people do that. Yeah, so that's where they're doing it.
Yeah, and it's like, $10 a month, and anybody can do it. You just need to watch some tutorials on YouTube and stuff like that.
That's fucking awesome. I love technology.
I have to check that out.
It's incredible.
Living in the age of the Matrix,
Yeah, I
you
know.
just plug into YouTube and we're like, let's go.
Absolutely. Is that something, have you been into technology your entire life? Or?
Definitely, I think so for sure. But like, never this intense. Like, it really made me feel like a hacker when I started using those Google Colab notebooks, because it's all code, like Python code.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, my wife would walk over to the computer and she's just like, what's going on? It's like numbers and shit. I'm like, I'm generating images. It was so sick, man.
Which you're newly married. Congratulations,
thank you
man.
guys so much. Thank you.
How does it feel?
It feels amazing. Like, we've been together for 12 years. We were supposed to get married during COVID.
It's literally same story.
Yeah.
We haven't pulled the trigger yet.
We were supposed to get married during the COVID thing, and then
we had
2020.
For us, it was actually quite a blessing, because like I over-invited. Like we had way too many people coming, and I was looking at the expenses, and I was like, I'm gonna die.
That's
Dude,
us.
And then COVID hit, and we had to postpone, and we just ended up doing like a small ceremony on the beach with just family and the band.
You're literally speaking about our lives right now, because we over-invited to an insane degree.
No, definitely, guys. The only thing that matters are the photos. Like, just
get a couple good photos.
You get the family there for the ceremony, and just take the dress and the suit, and like travel all over the world, and just get those,
those photos.
Just CG the photos, and then boom.
I know. We're gonna be hitting you up.
Bro.
We're gonna be hitting you up.
Put your faces in AI generated. Let's go. Wedding in Prague.
All right. So, do we have any questions?
Yeah,
we should probably hit some questions.
Yeah, let's hit
we've
some
already
questions.
Been,
yeah, we're at an hour.
I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name, but Ben Tells.
Yeah,
it's Ben Tolls.
Is he gonna go to the show tonight?
We actually, of course he is. We make fun of him because we're like, we call you Ben Tells behind your back.
Last name is Towles.
You guys mentioned that, and then I couldn't remember which way his name.
It's Towles. We're going with
It's Towles.
But you want to ask Duncan if you guys were having a tornado beer race again tonight.
Oh gosh.
Oh gosh, yes, Ben, let's
Let me
go.
have a Topo Chico. What is a tornado beer race, Duncan?
So pretty much we were just doing that little trick. I saw it on TikTok for this like Australian dude. He's a G. I don't know what his name is, but like dude with a mullet, and he just like kisses the beer and then does this twirl like tornado thing, and then it instantly just shoves the beer down your throat. Like you can down beers really easily doing that. And yeah, last time Ben and I were together, we were like just nailing that, trying to do it.
I know. I have a horrible feeling that tonight is going to be like a party because
really
everyone is going. It's a reunion.
There's a lot of freaking people
reuniting because it's like ENTHEOS and Ferry Boys are going to be there as well. And it's
Vulvodynia boys.
We're just missing the Artspire Boys.
I know.
It's like
I
the whole
know.
tour
Those
back
Canadians.
Together.
I know.
That's
it's
true.
going to be
That's
amazing.
True.
Yeah, it's going to be so fun, man. I'm excited. So I might be doing a tornado swirl or whatever, beer, whatever you were saying with you as well.
You have to. Yeah, we just need to find like, it works best with like a normal glass beer bottle.
Okay.
It needs to have that neck, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Of course.
All right. Next question.
Harry.
Bald daughter.
Bald daughter.
BDE.
Do you get this, Duncan? His name is Harrison.
Harry
son. So last night I was like, bald daughter.
Let's go.
That's it.
And then Cheney thought of BDE, bald daughter energy.
All right.
Did he say whatever?
That's it. I love it.
All right.
Harrison.
Next question is, what's the hardest part to get ready for a show?
I don't know. It all depends on the show. Like, I feel like a lot of these tours, I don't get nervous anymore.
Yeah.
But like for big like outdoor festivals or like big European festivals that we play where you're like looking at a sea of people, it's like that's when it gets really scary. So I don't know. I still get nerves sometimes that I have to deal with before going on, and that might be the scariest thing. Other than that, I don't know. It's probably my urge to just drink and get too fucked up before we go on. Like, I just got to fight that urge and then play the show, and then it's party time.
After. That's what's awesome about being second in a lineup, which you are tonight.
Exactly.
Is you
headlining is scary because headlining you just need to
keep it together for a long time.
You're so tired.
We were talking about that last night. I think direct support is the ideal slot. Because then you get the crowd, but you don't have the pressure of being a headliner.
It really is. Yeah. But then the one downside is like sometimes you don't get a sound check.
Yeah,
well,
you just got to do a line check.
Rarely get a sound check.
Yeah, I know, definitely. That's the only downside to being in like the middle of the bill. But I get you for sure.
So you're just going up there just naked. Like, all right. Well, I hope that the sound's dialed in on this first song.
Yeah, I guess with like a good sound guy, then you always sorted. Definitely.
Do you guys do you have a sound guy
on this tour? We're working with Mike, who's like the TM and works with Upon a Burning Body.
Okay,
super rad dude. But I think like the GOAT was definitely working with Marshall on that last
show. I know, Marshall is, we try to lock Marshall down for everything.
He's so good. Yeah, he's always amazing. And then also like we worked with this guy named Stephen Kent in the UK. He was fucking amazing. He was with Venom Prison and Fit for an Autopsy when we toured with them.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
That was super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've been blessed with like a lot of good sound guys along the way. And we have a guy in South Africa, Chris Norwood, that we always use as well. So I think if we ever tour with our own guy, we're probably going to take him.
Chris Norwood, that's the guy.
Yeah, he's cool.
The guy. Yeah.
South African guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's always also like it is nice to hire other bands' sound guys, but it's always nice to have that guy that's like as dialed into your sound as you are.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You know, who knows every place to like delay the vocals. Hit on a delay, hit on a sick fucking drum.
I love that so much. Like, yeah, Marshall was definitely on it. I never had to ask him for anything. Like, I feel after the first two shows, he has it locked in, and it's just like, boom, perfect every night.
I know, and, you know, every night when we go on stage, all of us as bands, we're going up there. We can put our heart into everything, but we never actually know how we're going to sound unless we have 6 sound guys with us. And with Marshall, every night when I would watch, like, Instagram videos, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes, we sounded amazing.
Like, I'd even like, especially, I start getting like fatigued after a few songs, and I've noticed like my volume will drop slightly. Marshall would even turn me up a little bit. Like, like I was like, damn, bro.
Fucking dialed, dude. I know, because my highs will be like exponential. I have super loud highs, and my lows are high, but my lows are loud, but they're not as loud as my highs.
Yeah, I get
so
you.
Marshall will like dial back
Yeah, and you
my
like
highs.
nail that compression, so you never have to worry about it. Because that happens to me with my gutturals. Like my gutturals are a lot softer than my highs, and like I just noticed it would be perfect. Like I wouldn't have to like try and dig into the mic to make sure my gutturals are being heard.
Right?
And, no, it's super cool.
No, he's the man.
And you had in-ears on the tour that we did.
No,
together.
we still haven't moved on to in-ears. It's only Tom. We still play to a click, but Tom is the only one that had. Oh no, actually and our bassist Chris. I've tried it a lot, but like I bang so much that I always end up fucking it up, or like I lose it in my ears. Or
that was kind of Cheney at first.
That was me. Have you tried getting molded ears?
No, I haven't yet.
That's the next
step for sure.
You have to do that.
Like our next step is ENTHEOS and like a cool rig that we can travel with, so that we're sounding good every night.
Absolutely.
So no matter where we are.
Once you enjoy your in-ears, it's going to be a life-changing experience.
No, for sure. You. But also, like, I feel like a lot of the time it's nice playing with monitors too, especially if you like.
Yeah, it's cool having the extra stage
on
sound.
on the sound guy as well, because sometimes you'll get that front row crowd, and if the monitors aren't on, some of them don't get any of the vocals.
Yeah, that's
the problem with it.
That is the problem with it, and that's why my new thing is that I want the monitors to be on all the time.
Exactly.
But also
not too loud that it feeds back.
Yeah. So on this Oceano, we just did a run with Oceano, and there were no cabs on stage, and that to me eliminates the entire stage
so
sound
much
at all.
That you're like losing.
I know. Yeah. And it's like you can't even feel the sound on stage to a point that you just don't even know if stuff is going over live.
That's the thing. Rigs are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's just like,
I want to go bigger.
A lot of the times it's exactly, because you want that. Like,
so that's the thing against that's the thing about the AI, right? It's like, there's all these amp modelers and stuff, but when push comes to shove, a cab with a fucking loud
No, that's true.
That's fucking sick,
bro. Exactly. That's why I say these artists are worrying for nothing, because it's never like did the camera kill portrait artists? No, it didn't. People still paint.
Yeah,
exactly.
The medium will always be there.
I also always like to err on the side of acceptance, because I remember with YouTube playthroughs, there were people who were like, "Fuck that! I'm not posting playthroughs." Now, who are the musicians that we hear about? They're the people who have shit on the internet that people are sharing. Like that's where it's at.
I mean, you only live once. Like just fucking you do everything you can. Like create as much art as you can. And like I've spent hours creating that stuff. It's like really addictive. And like you said, it's like an escape, and it's just that catharsis of being able to do something like that. So it's rad.
It's also a part of just, I think it's important to like embrace tools and use every tool possible. Normally when you, like you're saying, when you don't want to be about something, it's usually out of place of fear.
Yeah.
And it's better to be someone who's not living a fearful life. Because
for sure. Like, don't let it bother you. Just keep doing you. You know what I mean?
Keep doing you.
Yeah.
That's all, really.
No, for sure.
Got another question, Harry?
Yeah, I've got one for Duncan. This comes from Jean-Luc.
Mm-hmm.
Is driving in the U.S. confusing because we drive on the wrong side of the road?
I think, and in the beginning, I remember... No, I think Chris is so good. Like, Chris is our bassist that does most of the driving, and he's super good. On this tour, we've luckily had US dudes. But I'm not going to lie, I think it has gotten the boys a few times, especially when we're super fatigued, like coming back from a show, and we're like, are we on the wrong side of the road right now? No, that's a nightmare. That would be terrible. But no, it's not too bad. I think the boys are used to driving this side as well.
Cool.
It is confusing when we go over and we have to drive on the left. Luckily, we have bus drivers because we don't.
But crossing the street.
But
so when you're in the UK, it's like, I don't know. I can't get a beat on which way cars are going to come.
The only time we've ever had a run-in with cops in the US was on our first US tour, and it was because we were in Georgia and we didn't realize that if there's like I don't know, like a police person or like an ambulance coming by, you have to change lanes or something like that. So we didn't change lanes, so they pulled us over because of that. And then, like, it was like during the day, and they came to us like flashlights, and they're shining it in our eyes, and they're like, "Your pupils are dilated," and we're like, "Oh no!" And they pulled us out of the van, and all we had with us was weed, and they ended up finding all the weed and shit, and we were with this one cop, like the fat white cop, and he was like just standing with his hand on his gun the whole time, and we were there like.
Oh, no.
Like just with the hands in the air for nothing, and he was like, "You guys in a band?" And we're like, "Yeah, we play in a band. We need to get to a show tonight." And he was like, "Oh, like Creed?" And we were just like, "Yeah, man, exactly like Creed." We were trying to get in his good books. And the other cop that was searching the van, he was definitely a stoner, because like he'd find carts that we had, and he'd be like, "This is a shit cart." He'd find another one, he's like, "This is good." Like I would smoke this, and we just like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" And luckily, right at the end, they ended up letting us go. But like, cool. He was like, Luckily, because we told them, I mean, in South Africa it's legal, and we were like, we didn't know, we got it in a legal state as well.
Is it legal in South Africa?
Yeah, it is. It is. To have like quite a lot on your person, and it's just not legal to smoke in public, but you can have, and you can grow on your own property. Which is
I think pretty much most states here, it's like
it's pretty much like
that. For the most
Back
part.
then it wasn't in Georgia. I know now it is.
Okay.
But yeah, it was super scary, and like they were like, "This is like you're gonna get deported" type of thing, and we were like, "If that happens, that's like a stamp on our passport, and we come back for like 10 years." They even told us, they were like, "Usually a band will have a roadie that can take the fall," and we were like, "Like what the fuck?" So that was crazy. At the end, they gave me a piece of paper. They were like, "Write your band name down here," and I was like shaking so bad.
I bet.
Like I barely got the name down.
Yeah.
I gave it
Well,
to
you got lucky.
Let us go. We really got lucky.
Yeah,
and ever since then, we're so scared of US cops.
I remember that
we
on the
don't
tour,
travel with a lot of stuff. If we do, it's just like enough to swallow.
Yeah, smart. Because it is usually like people will let you go, but it does give them a reason to search you and to try to get
and
you
they
into
see
trouble.
our South African passports and they're like, "Let's go."
I know.
Oh yeah, we on the way back into the States after our last show in Vancouver, we got pulled over because weed is legal in Canada, and Rob and I smoke like chimneys.
Yeah.
So we were just chiefing in the van, and it smelled like
At
pot.
the border, yeah. At the border,
And we
they
had
gave
a
us
ton of
God.
cash on us, obviously from all the merch in Canada. So they gave us a pretty fucking hard time.
Jesus,
But
then-
that's always the worst. Yeah, they see the money and they're like,
yeah.
"How do you have this much money? You guys have to be."
No, they
doing
were
drugs."
being straight up dicks, and they were like, "All right, man, you should just tell me what you got, because we're gonna search the van." I'm like, "Search it."
Yeah.
We've gotten lucky a lot. Even we were driving over the French border on like one of the Europe tours as well, and we just didn't. We had a big ass bong in the seat, and we just weed everywhere. And they pulled us over, and they also like took everything out, and they sat us down. They were like, "This is like 2 years in jail." And our label owner's just got his head in his hands, and he's like, "Oh." And eventually,
he's
Chris,
taking the fall for it.
Our bassist Chris actually ended up like taking the rap for it, because he was like, he's like, "I have arthritis in my wrist, and like like this is for me, like I have to take this." And then they went to like the back, and they were like going through our merch. It was so weird. Like they were grabbing our shirts and stuff, and then they grabbed a CD, and they're like, "Is this you guys?" And we're like, "Yeah." And then they asked us to sign the CD. We signed the CD for the cops, gave it back to them, they let us go, and they took the merch. Well, just like one for each of them, and we were like, "What the fuck?"
As it goes.
We actually offered the cops in the US when we got stuff. We were like, "Do you guys want some merch?" And they were like, "No." They would be like accepting a bribe.
Yeah.
And we were like, "Oh, okay."
You know, the one
here.
thing that I will say about the U.S. cops is they're super not corrupt.
Yeah.
In terms of like,
no, definitely, they're scary as fuck, bro.
Yeah.
I watch too much Cops, so
They're
that was like
scary
my
as
biggest
fuck
fear.
and everything, but they don't accept any bribes or nothing like that.
Definitely.
They're very like
No, in
Yeah,
South
they're
Africa, if you have like $100 with you, which is like $10, you just put that in your in your driver's like license or your wallet, and you give that over when the dude asks, and you just take the money and give you your shit back and let you go.
And they're like,
yeah, like that's
peace.
not a thing.
Sometimes they'll even ask
all.
you, like we've had like I've gone pulled over with like family members, and they're like, "I'm hungry." Like they'll be like, "I'm hungry. Like, don't you want to like get me lunch or something like that?" And then they like asking for a bribe, and that happens so much in South
Holy
Africa. You can
shit.
literally pay your way out of probably any situation.
So that happened to my old band Animosity. We drove like pretty deep into Mexico to play some shows, and we got pulled over a bunch of times, and every time we'd have to pay them off. They just pulled us over just to get some money.
That's the one scary thing about going into Mozambique, like one of those places I told you about, because you cross over this border. But we usually, when we do it, we go with a band from Mozambique so that they can look out for us.
Okay.
But like the cops at the border there, or like the border patrol, they have AKs, and like they're known for like, especially if you're in a band, like they'll just come and like point the guns at everybody in the van and ask for your IDs, but you must never give them your IDs. That's what the other band told us.
What?
Because as soon as you give them your IDs, then they won't give you back your passports and stuff until you give them a bribe.
So you're just like, oh.
So, but if
I
you
don't have it.
refuse, then they won't shoot you. But like they're still pointing guns at you, and it's like really intense.
Not a good
and they
time.
like search every inch of your van, and like. But then we had the other band like in front of us. They stopped when we got stopped, and then they came out and they started like shouting at those border patrol dudes. They're like, "Leave them alone," and blah blah blah. blah. And they
Oh
like
my
got us
God.
through there.
That's
yeah.
horrifying for a band coming
But
from America. That would be
Botswana doesn't have that, in my opinion. Botswana is the coolest scene. That's the one I said
Okay.
you guys should check out. Vice actually done like a thing on the Botswana metal scene.
Really?
It's insane. It's like
we
probably
have
one of
to
the only
watch that.
places in the world where you can play to like a fully like African audience. And it's exactly what you expect, like going to Africa to play a show. Like in Johannesburg and in Cape Town, I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of like white metalheads. You don't see a lot of like people of color. But like in Botswana, it's crazy, dude. It's like no other metal scene you've ever seen in your life. It's crazy. People were just like, there's a guy with like a big ass like barrel just filled with beer. And he brought that into the show, and the bar was like, "What the fuck?" And he just started giving beers to everybody.
Really?
And like the bar didn't sell anything for the rest of the night.
Holy
So it was like
shit.
a crazy show, but it's just cool for the memory and the experience. And to say you've played there, just film the whole thing. It's insane.
Well, it sounds amazing. And so when you cross into borders like that, everyone's speaking different languages every border you cross.
That's
right?
why it's always like we have friends in bands in each of those countries. So like I said, whenever we do go there, we usually have those guys help us book the show
Very
or something
smart.
like that. So they look after you and make sure you don't go anywhere wrong. You know what I mean? Like I said, you need to know someone there, especially in those places, or else you end up in the wrong spot and you're like, what the fuck?
Totally. Do you speak other languages?
You get 11 official languages in South Africa, but I only speak English and Afrikaans.
Okay.
I need to learn more.
I
But like I've learned some phrasing and stuff like that. But yeah, Afrikaans is like almost like Dutch or Flemish. Because South Africa got colonized by the British and the Dutch, that's why it's just like it's like broken Dutch kind of.
Gotcha.
But I can understand
right.
people when I'm in like Berlin, because some of them speak Flemish, and even in like Belgium and places like that. It's super cool.
Oh, wow. So yeah, because I was talking to Bass Chris, and Bass Chris also speaks
Yeah.
Afrikaans.
Yeah, he's like probably because he was raised Afrikaans. I was raised English, but my mom is Afrikaans.
Okay.
So that's why Chris's accent is so
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's got
it's
more
heavy.
super heavy.
Yeah.
So everyone in your band speaks Afrikaans.
Yeah. And they actually teach that in the schools.
Okay.
Some of the schools also teach Zulu. You have to choose between them, but yeah, that's why a lot of people are just able to talk it.
Lwandile is Zulu, right?
I think so. I might be wrong, but I think he is.
I remember that he speaks a lot of languages.
Or there's Xhosa as well, which is another one. And yeah, there's so many. Like it's because like there's a lot of tribes in South Africa that lived in different areas, and they all spoke different languages.
Wow.
So that's why they're just trying to make sure that they immortalize these languages before they just disappear forever.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an important
Yeah,
thing.
it's super rad actually. Yeah.
I think it's an unfortunate thing that a lot of people who immigrated to the U.S. decided to stop speaking that language or to only speak it to their significant other. Like they didn't pass it on and teach their children to speak it. Like Naveen's grandparents speak Yiddish and didn't pass it on to his dad. So that's like a language that's going to end up being lost over time.
Yeah,
and it's
it is sad. It's super sad. But like, that's why we just have to learn that shit and try and keep it alive.
Yeah.
Even though, it's probably like super hard or.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's hard too.
yeah, it's like I don't think very many people speak that language, so it's
Sounds insane. Yiddish.
yeah,
Yiddish.
it's like Jewish language. They call it Jewish. They don't even.
They call it Jewish, yeah.
So.
It's just Jewish.
But it's not Hebrew. It's some other thing.
Do you know where that originated?
It's European.
Okay.
Yeah, some.
A lot
Like,
of
the Czech language as well, like, is insane because like I read some street signs in like Prague, for instance, and it's like K's next to Z's, and like you just look at the word and you're like, how do you pronounce that?
I know.
right.
It's cool. I love it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We got some more
Harrison.
cues over there.
Yeah. Simulate asked, who designed the ENTHEOS shirts?
Who designs the shirts?
Well, there aren't many different people but there are like 3 different artists that I go to who I think like stylistically fit what we do. And I go to them. Alex Goulet is one of them. There's a dude named Poison Dust. Eleron Cantor did our
He's amazing.
album art that we haven't debuted yet, but it'll come out.
Yeah, I'll show it to you in a second.
Yeah,
It's really
he's
cool.
amazing. Like
He really is.
when he sent me the initial just like charcoal sketch for our album, I like shed a tear just because it was perfectly what I asked
Exactly
him
what
to
you
do.
wanted.
Finally.
Yeah, no, he's so good. We wanted to work with him in 2019 for that Mob Justice album, but then the label at that time, we went with Uniquely to the previous label. Sadly couldn't afford it.
Yeah,
but
it's
I've met him.
expensive,
I've met
man.
him twice actually at shows in Europe.
Oh, okay.
He's
Oh, really?
such a cool guy.
Yeah, I haven't met him yet. I hope
He's
to
super
next
cool. You
year.
definitely will when you guys are back in Europe again.
Yeah.
Especially if he's worked with you guys. He loves to come and have
Okay.
people sign like the
Yeah.
art.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have our album art just as a piece without our logo on it, just as something to put on the wall, because it's a fucking, the stuff he does is a magnificent work of art.
It's so insane. Like
really
he is
sick,
definitely one of the best in the scene. He's worked with so many insane bands.
He really has,
all the biggest ones in the scene.
I know, it's
yeah, he's amazing. So.
Like the stuff he's done for Thy Art is also insane.
Yeah,
I love the Thy Art stuff.
The Human Target one.
Oh my god, all the
sick.
bodies just being crushed by
so
like this
good.
giant.
It's just so
even
fucking
Malevolence's new album art. That,
oh, really?
It's like people like underwater or something that looks like a ceiling. It's so insane. It's
and Archspire's art, I feel like is classic art. I mean,
no, for sure.
Venom Prison, he did
like,
fantastic.
He actually like paints it all by hand, doesn't he? Or like is it real or is it like digital? Because
it
if
is
it is,
digital.
it's so insane.
There is some digital.
The brush strokes and like it's so insane. It looks straight up like Baroque style, like fucking.
Because I was like zooming in on the one he did for us, and I'm like, fuck that! Like, there's so much little detail in there. It's
the best.
Well, yeah, if you use,
I think it's not. I don't think it's painted. I think
I'm not sure
digital.
what he did with ours. I think it's digital, but there are program or like apps that you can use on your iPad.
Like
that's
actual
like
brush strokes and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember the name of Procreate is one that I'll use. Yeah, and it's like perfect brush strokes,
insane,
and it looks.
dude. Like,
I think Kalen Stokerman.
Like his stuff looks so timeless. Like it just looks like it's.
Yeah, I love it.
Like it's like you're buying a piece of art that's been around for like 200 years.
I know that's what I mean. I'm a huge fan, and going forward, I want to use Elron all the time because he's
the AI thing. I don't know. We might have an AI Elron.
Well,
be good to go.
Definitely. Like you could probably get something.
Duncan,
I don't know. Like I
out.
said, like. In a year from now, it's going to be so hard to tell the difference between the AI generated stuff and real art. It's actually that's what scares people. I think it's like, and it's just there's gonna be so much art out there. You know what I mean?
We should actually be more afraid of AI taking over the world than about
definitely.
AI
That's what I think. I mean,
art.
if it's advancing this far,
like let's make our worries macro instead of micro.
I know, right? Don't worry about the art.
Yeah,
let's worry about
just
being
think about the cool things we can do before it annihilates us.
But also worry about and also worry about that you're gonna die someday. So I don't think that AI art is the thing to
that's
focus on.
Like it'd be so cool to just be immortalized or be able to like. I think especially with the AI generated music, like we can finally hear new songs from artists who we love that have died.
Damn,
like perhaps like it might. Some people be like it's soulless. It's not them, but it's like the closest thing we'll get to.
I want to hear Zappa. I want to hear
that's my mind
Zappa.
went immediately to Zappa.
Yeah, I mean.
But what direction would you go? Because there's so many different like avenues you could go with.
Well, that's the fantastic part is that you could go like this era of Zappa. You could go Mothers. You could go
you have to define which like.
See, with a lot of those, you can like feed it your whatever you want. So you can just take one era of Zappa and feed it just that and be like, I want a new song from this like era.
That's
you know what I mean.
That's the dream. That's amazing.
I want to do it.
Yeah.
New soul.
Definitely, yeah.
New soul nature.
Let's go.
All right, Harrison.
All right. This one was kind of answered in the pre-show, but a few people have asked, will there ever be an ENTHEOS Vulvodynia collaboration?
Yeah,
who knows?
Actually, Chris and I talked about doing some stuff, but we never really made it happen. But
definitely.
That's something that we definitely want to do.
Maybe even like a cover together. That could be so cool.
I'm not opposed to that at all.
I mean,
no, I'm down. I think we should do it.
I do too. 100%. That would be amazing.
Oh yeah.
So yes, we'll do that at some point.
We're also doing one right now on this podcast.
That is true.
Yeah, here's the collab.
Yeah, a talking collab.
Let's do Evanescence. Wake me up.
All right. So am I the rapper and you're doing the singing?
Yes, let's swap the roles. I want to be Emily.
Yeah. Can't wake up. I got it already.
I love it. Lawandile knows the whole track of Fahad as well.
I bet he does.
It's one of our bus tracks. We're just always playing that in Toto Africa. And there's this other one. I think it's by Hokum, Perfect Day. I always listen to the song. It sounds like a song that would be in like, I don't know, High School Musical or something, and the band hates it, but I always listen to it. And
Perfect Day?
Perfect day, everything will
yeah, we all know that.
The band's like, bro, and I'll be in the shower just
Nothing
like fucking vocaling to that track. Yeah, that's like, they're like, bro, what the fuck? When did you become a white mom? I'm like, bro, this is my shit, man.
You've been in the States too long.
No, I'm losing my mind, bro.
All right, yeah.
That's more cues.
More questions.
That's it for the questions.
All right, let me get into
no caller, no brave caller. What a bunch of chumps.
Okay, we've got some in the Twitch, so I'm gonna get in there. Dan Lousy says, are you going to use AI art for the next Vulvodynia album?
Yes, well, the next single. So the next single is going to be about AI, and we're actually using AI art for that. But the next full-length album is actually going to be about like Bob and his backstory, like a cool horror-type themed album, almost like a mixture of like House of a Thousand Corpses and Leatherface's family and the Addams family. So Bob has a whole bunch of quirky characters who he grew up with, and a lot of them are even crazier than Bob. So we're just trying to bring more characters into the Volvo universe with this next album. You get like a mask made for Bob, some cool shit like that, because the fans love him so much after that last album with all the memes and shit. So we're like, we got to give him a backstory, and it's going to be like entering the mind of a different serial killer in each album, almost like psychosadistic design.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that entire album was like about different serial killers.
Yeah, so but we're just trying to be a bit more tasteful and not like, all brutal. Like, I don't know if you guys have watched Hannibal, the series.
No.
But like, so there's like a detective in the series that can enter the mind of like a different serial killer and kind of sees their perspective and sympathizes for them in a lot of ways. So we want to do that, like make it more of a like psychological thriller type thing.
Oh, that's rad.
And that's probably I feel like we're probably gonna go with Shindy Rial for that artwork. He's like one of the main art dudes with Unique Leader at the moment, and his stuff's so sick. We're actually busy with like also with a little like graphic novel for Prenantius Infinity for the last album that we're going to be working with Shindy on.
Oh, so, awesome!
I'm actually sick, I'm also like with the AI generated art. Me and my wife are actually busy creating a trading card game as well, called Blood for Blood, and we're using art from there to do it. So I'm really good with graphic design, so it's just like I already know how to create the art. I mean the card design,
the layout,
the layout for the cards, and then I'm using AI to generate the artwork for it. So it's going to almost be like Magic the Gathering, but necromancers hemomancy. So like wizards that use blood. And you have your life points are what you use to summon creatures and use spells, and you steal blood from the other people you're playing against.
Oh, that's awesome. So do you play Magic? Is that?
I love Magic so much. All trading card games really, like Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, all of that stuff. I'm super into it. I'm a heavy collector of just anything. Once I start collecting something, I can't stop. It's crazy. So I love all of that stuff, and just being able to make my own card game. I was just thinking, like, what can I do with, with AI art? And I didn't want to go the general route with NFTs, because everybody was doing NFTs and it's flooded that market so much. Yeah. So I was just like, no, let's create a trading card game, perhaps start a few graphic novels, and just use that to, paint the pictures that the stories I want to tell.
That's awesome, man. And I think, I was listening to another interview that you did earlier today, and the storytelling world that you have going on with Vulvodynia, I think it's fantastic that you're attributing it to all of these places and using it for that, because it makes sense to do a graphic novel.
Yeah, definitely. Like that last album was like the first time we had to write a full-on themed album, and like it was almost like a novel's worth of lyrics that I wrote for the whole story, because we were coming up with that whole story.
Shani had to do that too.
Yeah, and then having to like compress that all into just lyrics for songs. It was like there's so much info that the fans didn't get. So like we need to do a graphic novel or something like that. And it's crazy. The story and the lore is like all there in my head, and it's just like we need something to paint that picture better for like all the fans, because some of them don't even know what the songs are about. But we wrote the lyrics in a way as well that like even if you didn't know the whole story, you could drop in and kind of just get your own feel of what you think the song is about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a thing with metal lyrics, because I know you can relate to this. We spend so much time thinking and worrying and editing and, just figuring out what the entire picture is, and it's really hard to condense it into patterns and what sounds best to go on a record.
Because you'll have like a line and you really want to like say that whole line, but it probably has too many syllables or doesn't fit into the flow that you're going for that part. So you have to just change it up. And I've had to lose a lot of the story like that, but it's so rad, like having the AI to be able to do that. Just to, like paint the story out there and just do it on my own.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's a big deal.
Oh yeah.
All right.
So we got a comment that's saying a Bob the Butcher body pillow would be a sick merch item.
Oh yeah.
From Trash Baby.
That's actually, we've been thinking about that. We're thinking of calling them Bobby pillows.
Bobby
and
pillows.
just like because we get them like just those big ass pillows that they usually have.
That
the
would be
animal
freaking.
Oh,
sick.
Bobby! Oh my God!
Yeah,
all right.
no,
It
would
took
be
a
perfect.
second.
But we were
It
actually
took
even
a
thinking of
second.
doing like plushies as well of Bob, and like there's going to be a whole bunch of shit. We're looking
smart.
into getting someone to be Bob with us on tour.
Oh, you're
Okay.
doing
Whoever
like the
do a
like
headliner.
how
Hey, watch out.
Necrogoblicon
Yeah,
has done it.
definitely. Like I think we took a lot of influence from like Necrogoblicon with Bob being our mascot.
Yeah.
Even like. I don't know. We'd love to, like, especially for big festivals and stuff, make our live show more like Gwa or like something crazy.
Oh yeah.
Like Iron Maiden, Gwa, those crazy theatrics. Like, and even some of Rammstein's concerts, like a big dick shooting couple over people.
Love it.
Yeah, that's stuff that people will talk about forever after going to a show.
Yeah.
So.
That's very true. I mean, dude, we toured with Necrogoblicon, and people like, not to discredit Necrogoblicon because they're amazing, but most people go up to John Goblicon and talk to him and think he's the vocalist, even though they just saw them live. They have no idea anyone else is in the band.
No, that's. I feel like
you
you also got to make sure that your mascot doesn't end up getting bigger than you. That always happened with Bob the Butcher being in all these album covers. People were like, they knew Bob, but they were like, who's this band, Vulvodynia? Like, we don't care about you, we care about Bob.
That is how I heard about you guys, is because Bob was showing up in different, and I'm like, who the fuck is, like, I don't,
Dude, that was one of the best marketing ploys we ever done. Like, I was just like, because we got the artwork layered by this Ukrainian artist named Diamorph, and he's worked with Black Dahlia as well on an album and like a bunch of other bands that we love. And he sent it layered. So I had Bob just like on his own as a PNG. And I was like, this makes it so easy. Like, we can just put him anywhere. And then I think Mental Cruelty like posted this thing of their last album with him in it. And then I was like, this is it. I'm going to steal this idea and just put him in everything. And then I started, Facebook just released that feature where as a page, your page becomes a profile. So you can now comment as your band on other bands' profiles and shit. So I was just pasting their album art but with Bob in it on other pages of like bigger bands. And it was just getting so many likes, and all these bigger bands were just forced to see us. And I was like, yes.
And their fans are forced to see you
I
as well.
loved it. And then I actually got hit up by another good friend of mine that works for Carnifex and Aborted. I'm just trying to think now.
Yeah.
Instagram handle. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, so I started working with him doing some stuff with Aborted's mascot, and we done like a crossover, which was super rad. And being able to work with Carnifex and the character that they had too was just like insane, dude. It opened so many doors for us, definitely.
Well, someone in the chat was asking how Bob came about in the first place. So was Bob...
Air Icarus.
Yeah.
Brad. That's it, Brad.
Oh, yeah, Brad Seed.
He's the best. I love him so much.
Dude, he's very on top of it.
Yeah, he like actually introduced me to so many people in the scene as well. It was so cool just working with him. Like, he's done wonders for all the bands.
Oh, I was going to ask Harrison, could you open the door? Because that's what Pappy wants.
What do you want to do?
Harrison, he wants to go outside. He's been in there meowing for a while.
Scumbag.
Harrison's our cat tech.
Love it.
Le meow.
Oh my God.
You always need that.
I know. We need a cat.
We were talking about it today. It'd be so cool to have like a pet with you on tour, like a tour dog.
I know.
Yeah.
There are bands
You know what I
who have
mean?
done it.
It's
I've
so
seen
rad.
bands,
I'd love that so much, just being
Yeah.
able to take your pet on the road with you.
Yeah, I know.
Honestly, this sounds crazy, but Pappy, that cat, he
Yeah.
could do it. Like,
Dude, I don't doubt it, bro.
We drove here from Santa Cruz, California, with him, and he like just handled it like a total champ.
He really did.
We stayed in hotels, and we would just like put him in the hotel, and he would just do his normal like routine.
But even when we would put him in the car, so we had like a small Veloster type hatchback, and he would just climb behind the seat behind me while I was driving and put himself to sleep for a few hours. He'd come up and use like the litter, eat a little bit, look out the window to see what's going on with the cars, and he'd just escort himself back.
You could travel with that cat. Like,
you really could.
He's seriously amazing.
We call him the traveling cat, actually.
Like, I love that actually, because it's not often that you get a cat that'll just stay with you. They're always just like head out.
I know. Well, the other cat that we have was like a total mess. It was we had to fucking drug her because she was like
freaks out in the car. Yeah,
not down.
Yeah,
but he just did like a champ, man. It was amazing.
We didn't quite answer how did Bob come about?
Okay. So actually, during our 2016 album, Psychosadistic Design, we just told the artist, Aditya Wardana is his name, Indonesian guy, super good. We just asked him, we want like a crazy looking serial killer on the cover, like drowning someone in vomit. And he was like, okay.
You know what's funny when I hear the stuff you tell people to do? It's the total opposite of what I'd ever tell anyone to do. I'd be like, avoid vomit, or like,
no, yeah,
I love it.
Because like our very first track was called Drowned in Vomit, so like we re-recorded that track for that album. So I was like, this would be the perfect artwork, and he sent back a few variations of Bob, like this killer on the cover, and eventually we just settled on that image of Bob.
I would love to see the other ones.
And I don't know why he got the name Bob. Like, I think we just looked at it one day and we were like, that's Bob. Yeah. And it just stuck. And we started, I remember we made memes in 2016 with that first like version of Bob. And it would just be like him chilling there. And it's like, this is the elite male physique, whether you like it or not. Just him with his big ass gut. And yeah, so that shit always done well. And that's why we actually incorporated him in the artwork for that album, because Psychosadistic Design was our best-selling album, and we wanted that character somewhere on the cover so that those fans can, reciprocate that. And it just was the best for the memes. He wasn't even like in the story really, but he's still in the same universe. Like, we didn't write about him in the lyrics, but he was there experiencing the invasion.
Oh, wow. So
love it, man.
Is marketing something that you think about, or is it just something you're naturally really good at?
No, it's something I definitely think about, because if it wasn't for Facebook and social media, we wouldn't have been able to break out of South Africa. It was like, I remember in the beginning, I would just have like this copy pasted message that just said like, hey, you're into brutal music. I think you'd like my band's EP. And then I would go to like, if Suicide Silence just made a new post like 10 minutes ago and it has like 100 likes, those people are online right now. So I would like literally go on like my shitty BlackBerry while I was working like construction jobs, like slip away and just spam, like 100 people like every hour type of thing. And back then Facebook didn't really send spam messages to like a message request inbox or anything.
Oh, right. Yeah,
so like half of those people were like, fuck off, don't spam me. And the other half were like, fuck yeah, this is sick. So we built our first like 10,000 followers on Facebook doing that. And then it kind of just snowballed after that. And then we moved on to memes, like just taking meme videos, putting our songs over them. And that is probably one of the best ways to promote, because like I wasn't spending a cent on ads, and we were getting really like a lot of views on those videos and people asking, what song is this? So that was the second step. And then I got heavily into Facebook ads, and I feel like I wish I'd gotten into it sooner, because the cost of ads are increasing every day.
Oh, yeah.
And like 4 years ago, I could reach like, like 400,000 people for the price that you could reach like 40,000 people now.
Mm-hmm.
So like, getting into Facebook ads back then helped so much for sure.
Totally.
And featuring all these big artists that we're into, like Trevor and Adam Warren and all of those people that we looked up to. It's super cool.
Absolutely. I think that I think your mindset is admirable, and I think that it is something that people should like really listen to and consider, because you had to work really fucking hard to make it out of a scene where not a lot of people make it out of. And it's like, I think that it's a certain kind of drive, or a special kind of drive, that is derived from like that, and it has made you a person with a special work ethic, because you had to work hard.
Like that struggle, like I feel like it comes with a lot of art. Like struggle creates some of the best art in the business, and like I feel like I didn't have anything else. Like I dropped out of school, and like I didn't come from a rich family or anything like that. So like I was like, I had to fight for this band to work, or else I was going to be on the street working dead end jobs. So that was just the drive. I remember like in 2015, we weren't taking any money from the first 2 albums, and I moved to Durban to be closer to the band for the first time so we could start playing live shows. And I was living in like this tiny little room with my fiance, and I was paying like $150 a month for rent. And I was not bad, but I was only earning $200 because we actually moved there for my fiance for her job offer that she got. And the one day she got robbed, we got robbed coming back from her workplace, and she had a bunch of confidential information and paperwork. She worked for an insurance company. And then they fired her because we got robbed.
Holy shit.
This is like 2 weeks after moving there, and we needed to pay rent. And like I just had the band. I had like no skills really besides like construction and sales and shit like that. So I went and I handed my CV out to like every place that I could. And eventually there was like this mechanic shop. And I've never driven. I can't drive. And I'm like 27. And anyway, so like this mechanic shop phoned me. And they were like, you want to come in for an interview? Like they were looking for a mechanic. And I'd never worked on a car in my life. And I got there, and he was like, the guy in the interview was like, so can you overhaul an engine? Like, can you do this service on a car? Can you change brake pads? And like, I was just like saying yes to everything because I needed the work so bad.
Oh my God.
And that the next day they phoned me and they're like, you got the job. And I started on the Monday at this mechanic shop. I got there was like an ambulance there, and they're like, jack up the ambulance, do a full service, change the brake pads, change the oil. And then they just left me because they wanted to see if I actually knew anything. And there's Wi-Fi in the workshop. So I was like, I need to go shit. I ran to the bathroom and I was just watching YouTube tutorials on how to jack up a car.
Oh my
and
God.
Like I went out there, I was like, I got this. Jacked up this ambulance, changed the brake pads, done the oil, sorted it all out, put the wheels back on, like jacked it down. They were like, wow, that's a good job. And then I started learning more from this dude. And like I was earning $200 a month,
Shit.
working Monday to Saturday, like 9 to 5. $200. It was like nothing. And my rent was $150. So I had like $50 for groceries for the entire month. And Chris, our guitarist Chris at that time, came over to my place and he was so shocked. He was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, why are you living in this little fucking place? Like, we need to do something now and make the band viable. And then he moved into this place and there was like a little house connected to it, like for less rent. And he spoke to his landlord and he was like, can't Duncan move in there? And then I moved in there, and I remember I had like 2 weeks while Chris was away to accumulate like maybe like $500 to pay my rent. And it was the first time I just hustled online. Like I'd done like 5 guest features and like done a whole bunch of shit, and I made that rent. And then we moved in together, and that was like our Volvo house that we recorded the Psychosadistic Design album in.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so like if it wasn't for the band, I'd still be living a shitty life. So it's like I got to make the shit work and make sure it's doing really well.
You know, I can totally fucking relate to you. There's nothing.
Love that, man.
I haven't done the mechanic thing or any of that. But there's nothing in my life that I've ever envisioned myself doing aside from playing music and being an artist. And like every job I've done or had has been a job that I've taken out of necessity, thinking about how I can use it to fund my band.
Exactly.
And it's like, that's why the like DIY thing is always going to be a part of me, and that hard work ethic is always going to be a part of me.
To keep that,
And it's like, it's very important to keep, no matter where your band gets, no matter who
how
you're
big
selling,
you get,
no matter how big you
remember
get.
that, because then it always like whenever I'm like get lost in the tour or anything, I just think back to that time, and I'm like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Dude,
now,
I know there will be some days where I'm answering emails and I'm like, fuck, this is like too many emails to answer. But I remember 10 years ago when I was just like
you wish
I was refreshing my fucking email. Like, I wish someone would fucking email me.
I got you. Exactly.
You know, and it actually is a dream come true.
Definitely.
To be able to do this.
It really is, and that's why I say that to people every day. And like, I don't know if they understand how much it means, but it really is like a dream come true. Like even on that last tour, like flying into California and getting to spend the day in Hollywood, it was like, what the fuck? Everybody back home was like freaking out because it's like very few people from where I'm from get to do that type of shit. So it's and being in a band doing what we do, like a lot of people in music schools, they are like, you can't expect to make a living playing metal. I know. Or like, and now we're doing better than most rock bands.
I know.
So it's like, fuck you, man.
Or they're trying to meme us like, oh, if the drummer does a lot of fills, you're not going to make any money. Or blah, blah, blah. It's like,
it's like
I'm doing fills the whole entire time.
Bro, you do
catch
you.
Me dude. Dude, the background of my phone says I'm living my dreams.
I love that.
That's genuinely how I feel every fucking day. That's genuinely how I feel on tour.
There's a KRS-One song. KRS-One is like one of my favorite rappers, but he has a song called Dreams. Anybody go and check it out. It's like just that exactly. It's like I'm manifesting my dreams, and everything that happens for a reason.
That's what's up. I think that's a good place to end this podcast.
Yeah, man. That's really good.
Cheers, man. Duncan, love you, man. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I love you. All right, we're going to go over to the Twitch post-show hang for a couple minutes.
We'll see what's up.
Appreciate it, everybody. And we will see you motherfuckers. This was a bonus episode.
This is a bonus episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning
Duncan,
in.
We love
you.
Thanks for coming.
Duncan, you fucking rule, bro.
Good time. All right, we'll see you motherfuckers next week. Peace.
Yeah.